Boxing truth here. Anthony Joshua won't get much props, beating on Deontay Wilder leftovers, as Bermane Stiverne is being eyed as a possible opponent for Joshua's next fight. As Joshua's team and Eddie Hearn may look to do another voluntary defense before they take on more of a challenge and a fresher, younger, more confident fighter in Joseph Parker, as the mandatory defense is upcoming and will be due by early next year. While Joseph Parker could be next, it's very likely Joshua will take another voluntary defense as he plans to return in November of this year. Third fight this year, perhaps the same venue. And perhaps another American opponent, or maybe a Deontay Wilder leftover in Bermane Stiverne. As Stiverne is still rated within the top 15 of the IBF rankings, the strap Joshua holds. But it's not a fight I'm very interested in. I mean, Stiverne has done jack shit ever since he lost the decision to Wilder, losing his strap. Didn't even make one successful defense of it. Was the champion for very short reign. Has only fought once since. Didn't look very good. Went the distance with a journeyman. And he's done nothing ever since. So it's pretty much just a showcase bout for Joshua against a Stiverne who's been inactive, has done nothing since losing his strap, and it will just be pretty much an opponent to Joshua. The only thing that's relevant about Stiverne, he's a former champion. He went the distance with Wilder. But there's no intrigue behind that bout. I already know who's going to win. Stiverne is over 36 years old, coming off inactivity, no confidence coming into the fight. There's really no interest for me to watch that fight. Just a stay busy fight type for Joshua, and another easy win in my opinion. Just a name to add to his resume, but not really an impressive one. Stiverne has done not much in his career. His best win is Arreola. That's it. So there are other alternative opponents for Joshua's next fight. If it's not going to be Parker, Parker will be the fight I like to see. But I'm hearing Parker is going to have at least 2 more fights before the mandatory defense is due. So if he gets past his July assignment against Humano, my bad if I'm not pronouncing his name right, then he might take another fight in September. So he's looking to be really busy this year, perhaps fight 4 times this year to be as ready as possible for his mandatory challenge against Joshua early next year. But the other alternative opponents Matchroom and Joshua's team are talking about are maybe Eric Molina, another Deontay Wilder leftover. Maybe a Hughie Fury, who's coming up undefeated, Tyson Fury's cousin. He's promoted by Frank Warren, so I don't see how that fight can be made. I don't know if it's possible. It's the last time Hearn and Frank Warren made a deal without purse bids and mandatories. So I don't see how that fight could happen. Be a much more interesting fight than Stiverne, though, in my opinion. It's Andy Ruiz. David Hayes going to be busy. Pulev's coming off a win over Chisora. That'd be a more interesting fight, but he hasn't been brought up by Joshua's team at all. He's rated number 2, I believe, by the IBF. There's just more interesting fights among the contenders in the top 15. Much more interesting than a Stiverne. I mean, I'd rather see Joshua fight Parker. But if it doesn't happen next, then it is what it is. Then we'll have to wait till next year. That bout would eventually happen, though. But if it's not going to be Joseph Parker, then I wouldn't mind a Hughie Fury or even an Andy Ruiz. I think Chisora is in the list, but he's coming off a loss. There's just really not many guys to choose from, and there's no Heyman guys that are currently rated that in the IBF that Joshua didn't beat. He already beat Brazil. He's already beat Charles Martin. So no thanks to those fights. Staverne's rated number 14. But I mean, out of these opponents that are mentioned, or the opponents within the IBF rankings, who would you like to see Joshua fight if it's not Joseph Parker? Who's the more interesting fight? What's the more challenging fight? Because Staverne is not a challenging fight. I'm hearing some people say it's a dangerous fight. Staverne can punch, but the guy's inactive. He's old as shit. He's done nothing as of late. This sport is about what have you done for me lately. And Staverne doesn't deserve that shot. It's just a safe fight. It's another safe title defense, but a guy with a little name recognition, and a guy who's a former champion. But I don't see it as a challenging fight. Not a fight that's really gonna. Maybe Staverne can give Joshua some rounds, but I see another one-sided beatdown. Not much where Joshua could learn. I like more of a test, of a fresher guy, a younger guy. A guy's going to give Joshua some adversity. From this list of the IBF, who is that person? I mean, Pulev is too robotic. He's too straight up. But he might have a lot more in the tank compared to Staverne. David Haye is busy. Joanne Duhaupas, another wild leftover. Takam, I wouldn't mind a Takam. He's coming off a tough, tight loss to Parker. I think he could give Joshua some quality rounds. Jarrell Miller will be a fun fight, but he's been calling Joshua out, talking a lot of shit, claiming he's on the juice. But I don't know how possible that fight can be made. Miller still very raw, very green as a heavyweight. Still has a lot of seasoning to do. He also needs to get in better shape. But I wouldn't mind that fight. It'd be more interesting than a Staverne fight. David Price needs a couple of more fights, he said, before he takes on a Joshua. Hughie Fury, I'd be interested in that fight. That's a domestic fight, but difference in promoters can prevent that. But y'all let me know what y'all think. I mean, do y'all like the Staverne fight? I don't. I think that's just a waste of time. I already know what's going to happen. But if it's Staverne, it's Staverne. And then we'll get the Joshua's biggest test to date when he fights Joseph Parker. A fight I think he would eventually win, but it'll be a very good test for him. We'll provide more answers of his upside, his potential in the heavyweight division. But yeah, there's a bunch of guys that are better than Staverne. Hughie Fury, Jarrell Miller, Takam. David Haye's going to be busy. Pulev has more in the tank. And of course, Joseph Parker. Andrew Ruiz, I'd rather would see that too. He's a younger guy, a little more fresher than Staverne. But y'all let me know what y'all think. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.